you very much for inviting me to speak here. I think it's the fifth hearing under the structured dialogue that I have been involved in. We've decided to leave the best till last, and I'm here with you now. And obviously, I want to pass on several messages and some information about the ambition that we have in the Commission. So it's an opportunity for me today to reaffirm that the European industrial agenda, which is under my remit, must remain closely linked to our environmental and climate ambitions. We are staying on the course set by the Green Deal, and we will be adapting the method in a turbulent context with the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the new US administration. In particular, we will need to recalibrate our action in order to find the best balance, best equation between all of our priorities. And we have new dynamics in the clean industrial deal that a few weeks ago Teresa Ribera presented. And this is the aim of the new roadmap from the Commission, that is putting competitiveness back at the heart of the European agenda. And there are three key words to summarise: invest, accelerate, simplify. And at their heart, there is a crucial initiative, the Clean Industrial Deal. And I say crucial because this text will reconcile our path towards decarbonisation and also our need to improve competitiveness. And in parliamentary hearings several times I have said that our economic strategy is also a decarbonisation strategy. It's about producing our energy in Europe, where billions and billions of euros are being spent buying products, carbonised products from outside the EU, and which contribute to our negative trade balance. And this is why we will be tackling cross-cutting problems such as access to affordable energy, funding, circularity, and also made in Europe. And I'd like to mention a few of the key files that your committee follows very closely. Firstly, chemicals. This is a very topical issue. It's a sector that embodies the key equation that I mentioned at the beginning of my introduction. We have essential industry, but it's exposed to significant challenges: high production costs, energy prices, plant closures, job losses, and also the need for investment and modernisation of our infrastructure to ensure we decarbonise. And these are precisely the messages that we heard yesterday in the structural dialogue with chemical industry. The President of the Commission met them at the beginning of the week, and we agreed to present an action plan for that sector in particular by the summer. And I will be working on specific measures which boost competitiveness, which aid simplification, and which also focus on made in Europe, especially in specific and strategic sectors like chemicals. By the end of the year, I, together with Commissioner Roswell, will also present the REACH revision. We will be proposing to make procedures simpler and more efficient, fewer individual authorisations, more across-the-board restrictions to improve clarity and speed. And this is important for businesses, but speed is also, first and foremost, about health. We need decisions that are based on reports and scientific evidence, whether they're negative or positive, but they must be fast. And in this first stage of the revision, what's most important for us is to make things more efficient and faster in the decisions that we need to make. And we also want to give SMEs a helping hand thanks to the digitalization of procedures for SMEs, who will be able to comply with rules without a significant negative impact on their cash flow, because this can be very costly for them. Furthermore, we want fair rules for everybody. We want to bolster checks, including online, so that imported products respect our rules. This is a real step towards a global level playing field. We also want to step up our efforts on replacing the most hazardous substances. I know that the REACH revision is divisive, and we had debates in the last term on this, even within this very committee. But I think that we are on the right track for defining the terms of a proposal which will be as balanced as possible and which can focus on public health, competitiveness of our businesses, and our political goals to decarbonise. And these three pillars are, of course, crucial. And in this framework, the issue of PFAS is also important. The Commission is in favour of banning them in consumer products, not in industrial applications, which are the most critical, where there aren't yet alternatives available. And as I was saying, the competitiveness agenda of the Commission needs to be as close as possible to the industrial reality on the ground, taking into consideration the special features of every sector. That will be our objective, linked to companies' business plans and also public health and consumer safety targets. Now, this is also the case for the European automotive sector. This is a sector which is facing challenges in the race to e-cars and automation. We will also show flexibility in there, but we will still be meeting the objective set out in the previous term. This is why the Commission has proposed, when it comes to CO2 emissions, that manufacturers be assessed based on the averages from 2025 to 2027. And I would like to thank the European Parliament for its support at the last plenary last week of this pragmatic proposal. This is to help a sector, and I often say that we need to be quite firm when it comes to the goals we want to achieve, but we must sometimes adapt the path to achieving them, and therefore this requires flexibility for certain measures when the geopolitical context has changed. And I think that this is a good example of a good flexibility policy and also a policy of speeding decisions up. And I think I would like to, in that context, I'd like to thank MEPs for their commitment on that issue. I know there are some very, very firmly held beliefs on that subject, but I think that we will be able to manage that flexibility whilst achieving the targets. Now, when it comes to the action plan that we presented at the beginning of March, we are going to support demand for electric vehicles, for example, via tax incentives or company fleets, in order to achieve greening as soon as possible. This also obviously must go hand in hand with improving the charging infrastructure. We are also going to support Europe's innovation and production capacity, for example, through the European Connected and Autonomous Vehicle Alliance. There are autonomous and connected vehicles which are on the market around the world, and I think we will need to see progress in Europe so that we do not lose our competitive technological advantage in that regard. So there's significant challenges to face there so that we do not fall behind technologically on the third generation of the vehicles for the future. Now, we'll also be presenting a series of measures to put European added value at the heart of the batteries value chain. 1.8 billion euros will be mobilised under the Innovation Fund in order to guarantee better access to raw materials, also European content requirements, and battery circularity. I'm sure that I'll be coming back here to speak to you about these issues and to present the very specific proposals the Commission will be making on those subjects. Now, this leads on to something else, and that is or a similar issue, the circular economy. And this is also at the heart of our industrial strategy. We'll be presenting that by the end of next year. It's a law to speed up and further develop circularity, the circularity of our economy, because it's currently stagnating. We've seen barely a 1 percentage point progress in the past 10 years. Now, it's not by setting targets and objectives that we will always reach specific goals. No, it's about coming to agreement on public policy which implement those objectives. And new obstacles continue to emerge within the single market to this circularity. For example, there are some requirements for the expanded liability of producers which hinder access to the market, and their harmonisation, digitalisation are among our objectives. If we have 27 sets of rules, obviously this makes things much more difficult. I know that MEPs will understand the need for harmonising those national rules. Now, circularity also clashes with economic barriers. Recycled materials are often more expensive than original materials, and repairing them is not always competitive. And this is why it's via the Clean Industrial Deal that we will be pushing for the recycling of critical materials in Europe, including via restrictions or export levies if necessary. Materials and recycling will require standardization and harmonization on a massive scale. We cannot consider one material waste in one country, a pollutant in another, impossible to transport in another country if we want to be effective in Europe on circularity. And so there are significant challenges to face. And the Commission will be facing those challenges to harmonise those rules and allow proper public policy on circularity. The Commission has started to produce a series, and this is where I'll be concluding, Chairman, a series of omnibus regulations on simplification, especially on sustainability. We'd like to make legislation more legible, more efficient and better calibrated, particularly for SMEs. It needs to be a vector of change, but not an umpteenth burdensome regulation. As for the taxonomy, this is a powerful lever for directing funding towards investment that is genuinely sustainable. With the proposed adjustments, it will be able to fully play its role. This is also the case of CBAM, which I'd also like to mention. The Commission your committee has competency for CBAM. We are currently working with Mr. Hoekstra on this subject, and you can count on the Commission to bolster this tool. We want to make it effective, to stop circumvention of the rules. We want to expand the scope so that we do not have products downstream in the scope. And this is the first stage of the CBAM with the omnibus simplification which has been proposed to you. I've already, I think, exceeded my speaking time, Chairman. There are a few things I wanted to say in my introductory remarks, and then the other ENVI committee priorities were going to be discussed in the Q&A session. Thank you.